Have you ever met someone who believes their time, their comfort, their convenience, somehow matters more than yours? Someone who walks through life assuming the world revolves around them? Well, I did. Her name was Danielle, and she was the kind of neighbor who could turn any small kindness into an argument, and any misunderstanding into a war. At first, I tried to ignore her attitude. I told myself it wasn't worth the stress. But when she mocked the months I spent away serving in the reserves, when she told me her time was just as valuable as mine, that's when something inside me shifted. Because sometimes silence isn't peace. Sometimes silence is just the calm before karma speaks. Pause. The tone darkens slightly, a low hum builds. And karma? It came wrapped in 2 giant bags of cat food, with her name written all over it. If you've ever had a neighbor, coworker, or classmate who treated you like your time didn't matter, this one's for you. This isn't just a story about petty revenge. It's about standing your ground when someone tries to belittle you. So hit that like button if you've ever had to deal with entitled people, and get ready for one of the most quietly satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today. Because when Danielle decided to test my patience, she learned that respect isn't optional, it's earned. When my wife and I first moved into the newly renovated building, it felt like a fresh start. New floors, polished hallways, a shared yard out front, nothing fancy, but ours to make home. The building had history, though. The first 4 floors were the original, old, weathered, filled with long-time residents who'd lived there through the rough years. The upper 3 floors, where we lived, were brand new, modern apartments stacked on top of the old foundation. That mix of old and new created tension you could feel in the air. The older residents had fought hard for the renovation, but now that it was done, they didn't like change. The new tenants, on the other hand, were younger, working professionals who just wanted things to run smoothly. And then there was the front yard, the spark that lit every argument. The yard wasn't big, but it mattered. It was the first thing people saw, our shared space. Some of us wanted to keep it nice, trimmed, green, alive. But the old residents refused to pay for a gardener, even though it was barely $10 a month each. "I'll take care of it," I'd said one day in the group chat. "I don't mind doing the work myself. Keeps me busy." A few of the neighbors thanked me. Others just stayed quiet. But one name kept showing up in every argument: Danielle. She lived 2 floors below. From what I gathered, she'd bought her apartment after the renovation. She loved to talk about how much she'd spent on it, like that gave her more authority than anyone else. She wasn't one of the old residents, she was new like me. But somehow, she'd appointed herself queen of the building chat. And she had opinions about everything. The paint color. The trash bins. The way kids played in the yard. And, of course, my gardening. It started subtly, small digs in the group messages. She thought she was untouchable, a mother who built her entire life on lies, manipulation, and government money meant for her own children. And for a while, she got away with it. But what she didn't know was that her little empire of control was about to crumble, all because of one small, perfectly timed act of revenge. Imagine driving 6 hours to see your favorite band, only to be turned away at the gate. The tickets you thought were yours, gone. Sold. And the person who did it? The same boy you tried to destroy months ago. This isn't just a story about revenge. It's about a woman who used her family as pawns. And a young man who learned that sometimes, karma just needs a little push. Narrator, emotional but strong. If you've ever been used, manipulated, or blamed for something you didn't do, you know the feeling. That deep burn in your chest when you realize good people get crushed while the selfish ones thrive. But not today. Because in this story, the tables finally turn. So if you believe that karma always finds its way home, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for one of the most beautifully satisfying acts of payback you'll ever hear. We shift tone into story mode, calm narration, movie-style pacing. Part 1. the sweet beginning. He was just 18. Fresh out of high school, full of hope, and finally stepping into adulthood. That's when he met her, a quiet, soft-spoken girl who seemed too kind for this world. She was the kind of person who'd apologize when someone else bumped into her. Her name was Lila. And to him, she was perfect, sweet, innocent, raised on faith and family values. But there was something about her family that never quite felt right. At first, he thought it was just how strict they were. Lila had been homeschooled her whole life, her mother hovering over every assignment, every friendship, every decision. Still, love makes you ignore the little red flags. And at 18, red flags just look like challenges. Part 2. The Family with Secrets. Lila's father owned a small construction business. Hard-working man. Gruff voice, firm handshake. But a few years before the two met, tragedy had struck. A workplace accident crushed his arm in a garage door. He couldn't work anymore, and the family finances took a massive hit. That's when Lila's mom, Karen, stepped in. She called herself the backbone of the family. But behind that pleasant church smile, she was building something dark. Soon after her husband's injury, every one of her children, 4 in total, somehow ended up with diagnosed disabilities. Anxiety disorders, dyslexia, ADHD, depression. Every diagnosis came straight from their family doctor, who, conveniently, was one of Karen's close friends. And every diagnosis came with something else too. Monthly government payments. Karen had managed to put all her kids on SSI, supplemental security income. But that money didn't go to the kids. It went straight to her. She claimed she was their caretaker. 4 kids at $16 per hour, $64 an hour total. Money she didn't earn, time she didn't spend, and care she didn't give. Part 3. The Perfect Lie. Lila once confessed it to him one night, her voice trembling like she was revealing a state secret. "Mom made me fake dyslexia," she whispered. "She said if I told anyone, we'd lose everything." He stared at her, trying to process what he just heard. "But that's fraud," he said softly. She nodded, eyes glistening with shame. "I know. I didn't want to. But she said I was doing it for the family." And that's when he realized, this wasn't a family built on faith. It was a family built on manipulation. But still, he stayed. Because he loved Lila. He told himself that maybe, just maybe, he could help her see there was another way to live, one not controlled by her mother's greed. A year into their relationship, Christmas rolled around. He wanted to do something special, something thoughtful. He remembered how Lila once said her mom loved the band Journey. It was one of the few things that made her genuinely smile. So he saved up, logged into Ticketmaster, and bought 2 premium tickets. It was a big deal for him. He wasn't rich, just a hardworking young man trying to show appreciation. He printed out the email confirmation and wrapped it neatly. When Karen opened it, her eyes lit up for the first time since he'd met her. "Oh my goodness! You got us tickets?" "Yeah," he said with a grin. "Merry Christmas." For a brief moment, she actually seemed human. He didn't know then that this would become the perfect setup for what was coming next. Part 5. The Breaking Point. About a year and a half later, things got serious between him and Lila. She wanted to move in with him. She was ready for independence, ready to finally break free from her mother's suffocating control. When she told Karen, all hell broke loose. Karen's pleasant voice turned venomous. She screamed, cried, and accused him of destroying their family. "If she leaves this house, we lose the PCA payments," she shrieked. "You're brainwashing her. You're trying to steal her away from us." Her father, too, turned against him, threatening him, shouting that he'd beat the sin out of him if he didn't back off. They even attacked his faith, mocked his denomination, saying he wasn't true Christian. Through it all, Lila stood in the middle, torn, terrified, and guilt-ridden. Finally, she broke. She couldn't take it anymore. She ended things. Part 6. Picking up the pieces. For weeks, he felt hollow. All the time, effort, and love he poured into that relationship, gone. But he didn't hate Lila. He pitied her. She was a prisoner in her own home, chained not by walls but by her mother's greed. So he decided to move forward. He found a better apartment, his own place. But when he went to sign the lease, he realized he was short on the security deposit, by about $300. That's when a thought hit him. A brilliant, poetic thought. He opened his laptop. Logged into Ticketmaster. There they were. The journey tickets. Still under his name. The concert was 2 weeks away. And suddenly, the most satisfying smile crept across his face. Part 7. The Sweet Revenge. With a few clicks, he listed the tickets for resale. They sold instantly. He transferred the money, paid the security deposit, and signed the lease the next day. 2 weeks later, his phone started exploding. Missed calls. Angry texts. Dozens of messages from numbers he didn't recognize. When he finally checked them, he couldn't help but laugh. Lila's mom. Her dad. Even her brothers. All of them furious. They had driven 3 hours to the concert, 3 hours there, 3 hours back, only to be denied entry. The tickets they thought were theirs? Gone. Sold. They tried to find scalpers, but the show was completely sold out. And in that moment, he could almost see Karen's face turning red with rage. The woman who spent years manipulating everyone around her, humiliated. Powerless. He didn't even reply to their messages. He just leaned back, grinned, and let the satisfaction wash over him. Later that night, as he sat in his new apartment, surrounded by unpacked boxes and quiet peace, he realized something. Revenge doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes, the best payback is simple, quiet, poetic. Karen got exactly what she deserved. A long, frustrating drive to nowhere. And the man she blamed for ruining her family? He was finally free. Direct hit moral and reflective outro, 2200 hours to 2400 hours. Narrator soft tone. They say karma doesn't need a schedule. It just needs patience. That woman built her life on lies, used her children like credit cards, and tried to destroy anyone who saw through her act. But in the end, her greed turned on her. And the boy she thought was naive? He walked away with peace and poetic justice. Narrator firm close. If you've ever been used or manipulated, remember this. You don't always need to scream for revenge. Sometimes you just need to wait for the right moment. And hit sell. Direct hit outro call to action 24:00, 25:00. If this story made you smirk just a little, hit that like button. Drop a comment below and tell us, what's the most satisfying karma you've ever seen unfold? And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life revenge stories that prove no one escapes justice forever.